Selain saya juga masih ada Alfian, Althea sama Nathanael. Coba, do you two want to introduce yourselves? Coba mulai dari Fian.
Halo, nama saya gue Alfian, gue senior at the college.
Jurusan apaan, Fian?
Oh ya, sorry. Gue belajar math undergrad and concurrent masters in statistics. Dulu SMA-nya gue di SMA Karisma Bangsa di Tangsel, and yeah, born and raised here. So,
Gile ini Alfian nih. Sekaligus S1 sama S2 ini.
lu juga
Ya,
sih.
iya. Ya, gue kan ya, S1-nya mat, S2-nya kan beda. Kan komputer. Yeah, cool. Althea, Nathaniel, do you want to introduce yourselves? Althea, let's start with you.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name's Althea. I'm Singaporean, so I was born in Singapore, but I moved and grew up in Jaksel. So today I will be speaking in English. I don't want to put you guys through that Jaksel lingo and all that. But if at any point you need like Bahasa Indonesia, please tell me and I'll try my best. But I can't promise much. Yes. I went to high school in ACS Jakarta. And I'm currently a freshman, a first year at the college studying government and East Asian studies. So ask me questions about that. I'm happy to answer them. And yeah, thanks for coming today.
Nat, you want to go?
Go next.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Nathan. I'm also a freshman at the college. Gue orang Jakarta, tapi sebenarnya lahirnya di Bandung. Gue sampai SMA di Jakarta dan sekolahnya semua pakai kurikulum nasional. So if you have questions kayak tentang kurikulum nasional atau gimana daftar Harvard sebagai orang yang nggak sekolah internasional, you can ask me because I think Althea and Moses are from international schools. Alfian, Karisma Bangsa is not international, right? I think. Yeah, so.
Nah, sekolahnya kayak campur gitu. Cuman gue ngambil UN sih.
I see. Yeah.
Gue dulu juga UN, woi.
But yeah, feel free to ask about.
Yeah,
dan
cool.
Di sini gue belajar molecular cellular biology and maybe pengen ambil minor atau secondary sebutannya economics. So yeah.
Cool, thank you semuanya. Jadi ya istilahnya ini formatnya kan webinar ini ya lumayan casual ya. Ya nanti kita campur bahasa Inggris, bahasa Indo juga. Intinya ini ya we're gonna have a few minutes biar ada beberapa question yang kita sudah prepare. Terus habis itu nanti akan ada sesi Q&A-nya ya. Jadi ya in a like later halfway to the session nanti kita akan transfer over lebih ke arah Q&A. Jadi nanti pada bisa angkat tangan dan ya nanya langsung kepada panelis-panelisnya semua. So why don't we get started? Yeah, so just to begin, I'm pretty sure banyak yang di sini yang juga ya penasaran juga ya. Sebelum apply ke Harvard itu kalian pada ngapain aja gitu? Sekolah, selain di luar sekolah, di dalam sekolah kayak ikut ekskul apa aja. Di luar sekolah juga masih, what other things did you do? So, why don't we get started with that? Alfian, do you want to start?
Oh iya, dulu pas SMA gue di luar sekolah gue mostly ikut kayak olimpiade matematika gitu sih, and then that's a big part of my life. And then also di sekolah gue ikut ekskul kayak tim olimpiadenya gitu, and then other than that actually like there's not much other than that. I just kind of like gue sempat kayak suka hiking dulu, and then outside of that, before SMA gue dulu suka ikut kayak lomba-lomba tenis, and yeah, that's it.
Guys, ini Alfian ini lumayan humble banget ya. Dia ini dulu udah pernah itu loh, Olimpiade Internasional ya, Fian.
Sure. Ya, jadi gue dulu ikut kayak OSN, terus dari OSN ada kayak pelatnas buat Olimpiade Matematika gitu, terus gue ikutin sampai akhir.
Sampai
nice. Sampai mau guys, sampai represent Indo di luar negeri.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Althea, what about you?
I didn't do any of the cool stuff that Alfian did. I was an Olympiad kid, so I didn't do any of those. I think the one biggest thing that prepared me for college would be, or the thing that I did before would be doing the IB, which sounds very basic. And for those who don't know, it's a high school curriculum called the International Baccalaureate. And that's what was offered at my high school, and I did that. And I think just taking rigorous classes and having to write papers for every single class is what really prepared me entering college. Activities wise, I would say I didn't do any fancy stuff. I was part of my school's track team, so I ran the 50-meter dash and 150-meter dash. But that was just the standard like school track team stuff. And then outside of school activities, I did a bit of Model UN before college. During middle school and high school, I did MUN and Model Congress. And what else did I do? Oh, and a typical like student council. So I would say don't feel pressured to do Olympiads or all that, because I didn't do any of those. And then outside of school, I would say just reading a lot, if that makes sense. Just I tried to expose myself to a lot of different kinds of books and media types. So that's what I would say. It's like very achievable things that you don't have to, go out of your way to do. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, Althea. Great to hear. So, yeah, I'm sure yang ikut webinar ini juga pada penasaran ya. What is the college application process like? So pas dulu saya sama Alfian apply-nya udah lumayan lama ya, tahun 2018 gitu kita apply-nya. So things have changed since then. Althea and Nathanael, what was the process like for both of you? Why don't we start with Althea?
Sure. Also, I can answer the question in the chat to Muhammad Jody. So I wasn't in UWC, so my school offered the IB, and I took it there. My school is ACS Jakarta. Yeah. And then for the IB, if you want any specifics, like they have the higher levels and the standard levels, and my school did have more of a STEM focus. So I did have to take biology and mathematics, but I was also able to supplement that with economics at the higher level. And a bunch of other classes like business. So to answer your question, that's what my school offered. And then preparing for the application, I would say, really just reflecting on your own story and reflecting on your principles and values rather than the activities or the physical, like by the book, like textbook answers. So prepare for the application. I was surrounded by a very good community of friends and family who really grounded me in what I believed in and what I wanted to pursue in the future. And then in terms of just practical advice and writing the essays, I would say just narrowing down a list of schools that you think is achievable by your standards, and obviously throwing in your dream schools, like one or two into the mix, because you never know if you don't try. So really just narrowing down that list. My advice is to not get too overboard with the list as well, because you can get easily stressed out. And then in terms of writing the essays and the applications, try to pace yourself. So don't do everything last minute. Even though that's a bit of an irony that I'm saying that, because I did do my Harvard application last minute, but for everything else, don't do it last minute. Make sure that you pace yourself and really prioritize your mental health and how you're feeling when you're writing those essays over the fact that you need to get them done. Hopefully that helps. If you want more practical advice, please send questions in the chat and I'll try my best to answer. Yeah.
Yep, I agree with a lot of things Althea just said. So my advice would be to start early. Jadi kayak kalian jangan daftarnya mepet-mepet banget, karena yang namanya esai itu harus dikoreksi atau direvisi berkali-kali, dan kalian tuh harus kayak mikirin gimana esai kalian bisa connect antara kegiatan kalian di sekolah selama high school atau selama SMA dengan apa yang dimau sama universitasnya. Jadi kan seperti kalau misalnya kalian mungkin tahu, universitas kayak Harvard itu mereka punya holistic admission. Jadi mereka tuh nggak cuma ngelihat satu aspek dari diri lu, tapi mereka kayak ngelihat berbagai aspek. Jadi kalian harus punya application atau punya kayak aplikasi ke universitas itu yang komplit. Kalian harus bisa menunjukkan aspek-aspek diri kalian dari berbagai sisi. Nah, untuk itu kalian pasti perlu persiapan kan, kayak gak bisa cuman cepet-cepet 1 minggu sebelumnya kalian udah bisa langsung lakuin semua. Kalian harus kayak kalian harus pikirin cerita kalian harus pikirin kenapa universitas ini bakal cocok dengan kalian, dan dengan begitu kalian bisa nunjukin bahwa gua ini memang orang yang cocok nih buat Harvard atau buat any other school. So I think that's like my main advice. You should show the school that you are a good fit with the school.
Great. Thanks for the advice. Nah, ya ini juga untuk Harvard specifically ya, kan Harvard kan pakai Common App ya untuk application-nya. Deadline yang untuk regular decision-nya is actually coming up ya. Jadi deadline untuk regular decision buat Harvard is actually tanggal 1 Januari. So if any of y'all are planning to apply, make sure kayak essay-nya udah ya mulai dipikirin lah, mulai dikerjain gitu, because essay-nya itu saya juga pas dulu nulis essay itu lumayan lama lah. You have to really think about it, you have to like craft your story, and kayak yang dikatakan sama Nathanael, intinya you have to show the admissions team what makes you interesting, gitu, what makes you like special, gitu. So yeah, you know, we're happy to like answer more questions about that nanti di sesi Q&A. Tapi untuk sekarang, you know, like the last question before we switch to Q&A. Alfian, you've spent 4 years here. Althea, you've like finished your first semester here. What would you say kayak highlightnya dari your experience at Harvard so far? Alfian, you want to start off?
Yeah. So I think for me, some of the highlights are just like the activities I've been fortunate to be a part of. Just like trying out so many different things throughout my time here. Like early on into my college career, I tried out like HVAC, I tried out like data science, I tried out like boxing, running, and all this kind of stuff. And I think just like the opportunity to just like immerse yourself in so many different things has been my highlight of my experience so far. I think academically, I've been like very fortunate to be able to like really like use the freedom that I have. So one thing I did is the independent study, which is like basically gua kayak paired up with the professor, and then like I just tell the professor like I want to study like whatever XYZ, and then like every week we just meet and talk, and like I think it's very enriching just because like I can learn things that are not in the standard curriculum. Yeah.
Oh iya, like untuk independent study itu sebenarnya kayak ada salah satu kelas di Harvard College namanya independent study. Jadi ya, kan Alfian kan sebagai jurusan matematika juga ada ambil kelas mat yang lain juga ya. Tapi bisa juga ngambil independent study. Jadi independent study itu ya seperti dikatakan Alfian, you get paired up with a professor. Nanti kalau kalian ada kayak ide topik yang mau kalian pelajari banget gitu, yang nggak ada kelasnya misalnya kayak some very specific topic in math atau nggak in like you know, linking kayak misalnya economics with biology atau gimana gitu, bisa aja bikin independent study. Nanti ada ketemu profesor, ada research topic yang kalian propose, dan if it works out, you got to spend a semester actually just focusing on that topic. So why don't we move on? Like Althea, you know, what has the first semester been like for you? What has the highlights been?
I think the highlight has definitely been the people. In terms of at Harvard, you're meeting every type of person and you're meeting people from all around the world. And I think that even though if you're scared off by having a small like Indonesian or Southeast Asian community in Harvard, I would say to not be so intimidated by it, because it could actually be a good thing. Sometimes when you think about how you're going to be exposed to a lot of different other people from other countries and other cultures. And so one of the highlights I would say this semester was doing the pre-orientation program that Harvard has. So when you get into Harvard, you can choose to do a pre-orientation program before the college's actual orientation program. and the one that I did was for international students, and it was great. We got started into groups, and that's how I met a lot of my close friends today. And I think another highlight would just be learning a lot about American culture. You know, the classic Thanksgiving, American football, Halloween. I'd say that was just one of the highlights. Just getting to learn about American culture and actually experience it for yourself in person has been very surreal, and it's just a lot of new experiences, I would say, in freshman fall. So yeah.
Yeah, I would add that my freshman experience is also really influenced by the people. Like I meet people from all over the world or from all over the US, and it's just really interesting, you know, to make friends with. For example, I have friends from Lithuania, I have friends from Egypt, I have friends from India, I have friends from China, I have friends from Africa, South Africa. So it's really cool to meet people with all these diverse backgrounds and to talk to them, chat with them, become friends with them is really, really cool. And my other highlight is actually the clubs. So Harvard actually has lots and lots of clubs. It has, I think, like 400 something, 450 something clubs. And like I myself have been trying out some clubs. For example, I like photography. So I'm doing photography for the Harvard Crimson, which is like the oldest continuously published college newspaper in the US or something. And yeah, I also did some Model UN. I did HVAC, the Harvard Financial Analyst Club. So it's just like all this exploration and exploring different stuff I've never been exposed to before. For example, like before coming to Harvard, I didn't really know about finance, you know, like cash flows and stuff. But, you know, Moses here, he's actually also one of the instructors, you know, at HVAC. And yeah, I just learned a lot about finance and stuff. So like, it's really, really cool. You can explore lots of stuff you may not even think exists before. Like, it's just really interesting and really a good experience.
Yeah, definitely. Kayak this past semester saya juga bagian dari HVAC Harvard Financial Analyst Club, and so as part of that saya ya ngajar murid-murid baru tentang finance lah istilahnya. Karena kalau di Harvard itu nggak ada kelas undergrad yang fokusnya ke arah finance. Jadi itu saya juga pas dulu sebagai freshman gitu baru masuk kuliah ya saya ikut klubnya. Sekarang giliran Nathan yang ikut klubnya saya ngajar. Yeah. So a question has been asked in chat before we just move on to Q&A, and I think that this, you know, we've seen this question multiple times as well. Like when we sent out the survey, is about just like financial aid at Harvard, right? So Harvard does have like a need blind admission, so they don't like if you apply for financial aid, it doesn't affect your chances of getting in. But in terms of like the actual financial aid process itself, you know, like what is it like to apply? What is it like once you have it? Nathan, do you want to like spend some time talking about it?
Sure. Yeah, so when you apply to Harvard, the last thing you need to worry about is about finance. Jadi kalau kalian pengen daftar ke Harvard, kalian nggak perlu khawatir tentang bagaimana kalian bisa bayar. Karena apa? Karena Harvard punya program namanya financial aid, dan financial ini bakal cover seluruh biaya kuliah kalian kalau kalian punya keluarga pemasukannya itu di bawah sekian, dan itu batasnya tinggi. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian rasa kalian dari keluarga yang kurang mampu dan kalian mau daftar ke Harvard, kalian jangan khawatir sama sekali. Ketika kamu daftar Harvard dengan minta financial aid, itu nggak bakal mengurangi peluang kamu masuk. Jadi Harvard, seperti yang tadi Moses bilang, Harvard is need blind, so they're blind towards your need. Like they don't care whether you're rich or you're poor, so like whether you need financial aid or whether you don't need financial aid, they don't care at all. Dan sebenarnya kalian nggak perlu terlalu khawatir tentang scholarship-nya, kalian daftar dulu. Kalau kalian nanti masuk, kalian bisa apply financial aid. Although it's actually better to apply financial aid while you're applying, so when you get in, you can soon get your financial aid package. So for example, for me, myself, I'm under financial aid. So I submitted my family's like earnings report and stuff like tax report. Kayak ntar kalian harus bakal submit kayak pajak dan sebagainya. Dan ntar Harvard bakal hitung financial aid yang kalian butuhkan berdasarkan keperluan keluarga kalian. Jadi misalnya kalau biaya di sini kan kayaknya sekitar berapa ya, 1,2 miliar mungkin ya kalau per tahun termasuk kamar dan makan. Nah, tapi jangan khawatir sama sekali, karena kalau misalnya keluarga kalian kurang mampu, Harvard bisa aja bayar kayak 1,2 miliar semuanya dibayarin. Ntar kalian cuma perlu bayar zero, kalian sama sekali nggak usah bayar. So tergantung kebutuhan keluarga kalian, dan kebutuhan keluarga kalian yang lebih besar tidak akan mengurangi kemungkinan kalian masuk. Jadi kalian nggak usah khawatir kayak, oh ya pas gue daftar gue bilang gue butuh financial aid, ntar gimana ya? Don't worry about it. Like Harvard is neat blind, so just apply. Put your mind and your mental thinking into the application and not into the finance or like the money side. The money side will take care of itself later after you get in.
Yeah, thank you. And I
Thank
add a
you,
little bit to
Nathan.
that.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so yeah, I just want to say that like I agree with everything Nathan said, but also like it's not just on the financial side. Like you don't really just like focus all your energy on like making sure application is as good as possible, because they'll pretty much take care of everything else. Like it extends beyond just like financial aid. Like I know there's like a guy who's like yang kayak ditolak imigrasi, terus kayak dipulangin, terus Harvard kayak kirim pengacara imigrasi buat kayak datengin dia balik, terus dia balik. Terus kalau misalkan kayak lu nggak bisa beli tiket pesawat, dia beliin tiket pesawat. Basically kayak kalau lu udah masuk, they want you here and they will get you here. So just focus all your time on the application.
Oh, actually I can add to what Alfian said. So bahkan mereka tuh sampai kasih fund buat kayak winter clothing. So misalnya kan kita kan dari Indonesia kayak tropical gitu ya, kayak negara tropis kan. Kayak kalau musim dingin kita bakal perlu kayak jaket yang tebel. Itu kan kadang-kadang bisa mahal. Mereka tuh bahkan kalau misalnya lu dapat financial aid, mereka bahkan bisa kasih dana buat lu beli jaket musim dingin. So the financial aid is really, really good.
Very good, yeah. Thank you so much, Nathan sama Fian. So, untuk sesi berikutnya ini, kita akan transfer ke sesi Q&A. Formatnya, jadi just double check. Our participant is able to just like raise hand gitu dari Zoom.
Ya, bisa. Kalau raise
Okay,
hand, I'll pin them, ya.
Got it, sounds good. Jadi untuk yang ada questions, like feel free to just like raise your hand. We will get you an order, and then like you can turn on your video, unmute, terus coba nanya questionnya, and like one of us will try to answer, or like multiple of us if kalau questionnya apply to more of us. So yeah, sure. Why don't we go ahead? Anyone have any questions? Cool. Ini ada dari Kenzo ya, no Kenzo?
Ya Kak, ya.
Sure.
Sudah terdengar suaraku?
Yep, sudah bisa.
Oh, ya. Pakai bahasa Indonesia gak apa-apa ya Kak?
Ya nggak apa-apa Kak, nggak apa-apa.
Oh ya.
Santai aja, santai.
Untuk ya sebenarnya ini pertanyaannya ke keempat pembicara sih. Ini kan kira-kira ketika berkuliah di Harvard, pengalaman yang menarik gitu ya. Ketika terkhususnya pengalaman untuk mengambil jurusan yang ditempuh gitu. Suka dukanya bagaimana? Lalu kira-kira untuk kakak bertiga yang dari Indonesia ketika waktu SMA, lalu perbandingan pendidikan dari guru yang mengajar di Indonesia, lalu situasi lingkungan di luar negeri, penyesuaiannya, apa yang kita dapat itu kira-kira seperti apa? Saya tahu bisa membantu memberikan informasi kepada kami-kami di sini gitu.
Jadi pertanyaan ada dua ya, ada satu tentang bagaimana itu ya pengalaman yang ambil kelas yang hubungan sama jurusannya, dan juga habis itu bedanya sama pas masih SMA itu gimana ya?
Ya, siap.
So, yeah, sure, I can start with this. Intinya itu kalian pas lagi apply ke Harvard, nanti di bagian comment app ada bagian yang kalian bisa masukin, oh nanti saya plan ngambil jurusan apa. Tapi di Harvard sistemnya yang beda sama sekolah lain. Itu kalian itu nggak usah declare jurusan apa sampai akhir semester ketiga. So misalnya kalau saya pas apply, saya bilang, oh saya mau belajar computer science gitu. Terus datang ke Harvard, ngambil kelas computer science, ngambil kelas yang lain, misalnya ngambil kelas kayak psikologi gitu. Terus saya rasa, oh ini saya lebih minat ke arah psikologi gitu. Ya udah, saya mau declare majornya itu aja. Bisa ganti. They're not gonna lock you untuk major yang kalian masukin pas application. Untuk kelas yang ya untuk jurusan saya kan undergrad-nya applied math ya. Jadi itu istilahnya ya ada ngambil beberapa kelas math, tapi selain itu juga ngambil kelas yang berhubungan dengan math. Jadi for myself itu di bidang ekonomi sama computer science. Jadi ya lumayan seru sih kelasnya ya dibandingin SMA sih beda jauh ya, susah banget di sini bandingin di SMA. Tapi at the same time di kelas-kelas ini kan banyak orang yang ambil kelas yang lumayan susah lah di sini. Dan as part of that, you get to meet lots of people who are just very interesting as well. Yang seperti tadi Althea ngomong kan, it's like a huge part of the Harvard experience is the people, and you can see that also in just like classes. Kayak Harvard punya culture itu untuk kelas, kalian itu encourage untuk kerja sama bareng orang lain untuk ngerjain PR-nya. Jadi bukannya kayak, oh ya udah PR-nya ya gue dulu gitu. Malah justru disuruh kerja bareng. So yeah, that's been like a very fun part of my time, just like taking a bunch of classes here. Nat, you want to go next?
Yep, sure. Jadi sebenarnya kayak dari segi kelas pasti ada bedanya ya. Jadi kayak kalau misalnya SMA kan kelasnya cenderung lebih kecil, tergantung SMA-nya sih. Cuman kayak kalau di SMA aku kelasnya kecil. Nah kalau di sini ada kombinasi kelas gede sama kelas kecil. Biasanya kelas gede itu buat lecture. Misalnya gue lagi ambil kelas ekonomi semester lalu, kayak microeconomics. Itu lecture-nya kayak di teater gitu. Kayak bagus banget teaternya, tapi intinya kayak gede. Nah tapi walaupun kelasnya gede, selalu bakal ada namanya section. Jadi section itu kayak dibagi ke kelompok-kelompok yang lebih kecil untuk lu review materi dan lu belajar lebih dalam. Jadi lu nggak usah khawatir kayak, oh lecture-nya gede, gue kurang personal interaction. Lu selalu bakal bisa ada interaksi yang dekat dengan faculty melalui section, atau bahkan lu bisa cari profesornya di office hours, kayak mereka bakal buka office hours, mereka kayak bakal nongkrong, terus kayak lu boleh datang nanya-nanya, atau bahkan nggak ada nanya pun lu boleh kayak ngobrol atau apa. Jadi kayak profesor di sini tuh really accessible. Yang gua rasa menarik tuh mereka tuh kan orang-orang yang kayak penting gitu ya. Misalnya orang-orang di situ banyak yang leading in their field. Mereka tuh misalnya di bidang ekonomi, mereka tuh yang nulis textbooknya, mereka tuh penasehatnya Presiden Obama gitu-gitu. Tapi mereka tuh tetap accessible dan mereka tuh tetap menyediakan waktu untuk kayak ketemu dengan anak-anak S1 dan ngobrol-ngobrol dan atau bahkan just chatting gitu. Dan ada juga di sini kelas yang namanya freshman seminar. I'm personally taking one this semester, or I took one this semester. Yang namanya freshman seminar itu kelas yang lebih kecil, cuman kayak 12 orang. Dan selama satu semester lu tuh cuman 12 orang ini sama satu profesor. Dan itu tuh bakal very discussion heavy. Jadi lu bakal banyak diskusi. Misalnya gue kelasnya A Brief History of Surgery. Jadi kita belajar tentang sejarah kayak operasi gitu. Dari sejak zaman kayak sebelum Masehi sampai zaman sekarang. Dan kita kayak ada field trip yang menarik, kayak pergi ke tempat anestesia pertama di dunia, ada di Massachusetts General Hospital. Jadi kita kayak field trip ke tempat anestesia pertama dilakukan, terus kita pergi ke medical school ngelihat kayak mayat, ngelihat cadaver. It's really fun. So there are lots of types of classes here at Harvard. There are some pretty hard classes. There are also classes that are more discussion based. And yeah, you can basically choose from like hundreds of classes, and you can choose from any subject. Ya misalnya gue pengen kuliah biologi, tapi gue bisa ambil kelas ekonomi, gue bisa ambil kelas literatur, gue bisa ambil kelas sejarah, gue bisa ambil kelas politik, gue bisa ambil kelas kimia, fisika, apapun bisa. Jadi kayak di sini tuh fleksibel banget. Walaupun pastinya ada kayak requirement ya, misalnya gue pengen major bidang ini ada requirementnya, tapi kayak for the rest you can choose whatever course you want. Maybe Alfian want to go next?
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add to that. Maybe, yeah, I definitely agree that like there's a wide range of classes you can take. For example, like I took philosophy class, I took a class on like sleep, I took a class on like law and economics, and on top of my major classes. So yeah, there's a lot of classes you can take. There's a lot of opportunity to explore. Yeah, and also the major is non-binding in the sense that like you can change your major anytime you want. So you're encouraged to choose your major at the end of the third semester, but you can change it anytime after that. Maybe Althea, you have anything to add?
Sorry, could you read the question again? I was just busy looking at the chat
Yeah, sure. So the question was like, what is it like kind of like taking classes in relation with your major? like, or just like the major you're planning to pursue, and just like how has it been different from just like high school classes like in Indo?
Oh, for sure. Okay, so I think getting to college, I was super excited about taking classes that weren't offered in my high school, like government and political science classes. And I'd say one thing to rest assured about Harvard curricula is, let's say you're planning to do to major in East Asian studies, something like what I'm thinking of. It's very flexible, the requirements for each major. So this semester I took a Korean literature class, and that counts towards my East Asian studies credits. And it's super fun. The professors are amazing in terms of just making sure the classroom is a very comfortable environment for like expressing yourself. And for government specifically, I would say it's been, if you're planning to pursue government, there will be a strong focus on American politics at the start. It's inevitable because you are going to be studying in America, and you will be surrounded by Americans who are very passionate about their government. But there are also other ways to pursue international relations and foreign policy studies, whether that be through clubs or through the classes themselves. So don't worry, but just keep in mind that Harvard does have an American politics requirement for government majors. And also with classes in general, I feel like I haven't entirely explored government East Asian studies as much as I would like to, because like Nathan, I also took a freshman seminar. Mine was called Tree. And what we did was we just took an Uber every time to class at the Arboretum in Boston. And we spent 3 hours talking about trees, walking around the Arboretum, learning about trees from a non-biological perspective, which I very much appreciated, because I think in high school, I approached plant biology from obviously a very scientific standpoint with a lot of, memorizing, regurgitating and all that. But with tree, we spent classes just debating whether trees should have legal standing, or we learned about the abolitionist movement in relation to trees. I think that's the amazing thing about Harvard. It's a very, as they like to advertise it, a transformative experience where you're looking at different academic fields from perspectives you wouldn't have dreamed of. So you really get a whole menu, you get a whole buffet of classes, and you don't just have to stick to whatever you're majoring in. Yeah.
Thanks, Althea. Cool. Why don't we move on to the next question? Berikutnya dari Fathia. Why don't you just like turn on your camera? Feel free to ask your question.
Is my voice clear? Sorry.
Yep, kedengaran.
Okay. Thank you for the insightful information. I want to ask, regarding the essay requirement, what type of inspiration or topic you took to mainly build up your essay? Like, is it true that most of the Harvard students who got accepted, choose an extreme or a competitive experience to write an interesting essay and got accepted with that essay? And my second question would be, briefly, how would you recommend us high school students to prepare for Harvard College? Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I can start this one off. Essentially, so the Harvard application, or more specific, it's going to be 2 essays. One is your common application essay that you're sending to all schools that use the Common App, and the other one is a supplemental essay that is Harvard specific. Untuk Common App-nya itu, mereka ada beberapa prompt that they release every year. I haven't checked the ones this year, but I'm sure it's somewhere out there online. Jadi cari aja Common Application essay prompts. Dan satunya lagi untuk Harvard specific essay-nya itu lebih ke arah kayak just you can write basically about anything you want. At least that was the case my year. Jadi untuk pengalaman saya sendiri sih, I wrote about just things that I felt really captured who I was as a student. For me, it was my interest in math, how I shifted over to learning more about computer science and economics, plus in high school, and how that led to me doing research and finding a way to take my research and apply it to the real world. So I think it's really about just being able to capture your essence, who you are as a person, as a student. Are you someone who's intellectually curious? Are you someone who wants to use your education to be able to give back and like actually create a tangible impact in the world. I think that's like some of the things that I've seen, been very common themes among just like not only myself, but also like some of my friends who are also here at Harvard. Alfian, you want to go next?
Yeah, I second that. Definitely try to make it personal and try to like combine different things in your life into one essay. And it doesn't really like you don't have to like write an essay about like how you're gonna save the world or like how like you're gonna cure cancer or something like that. It can be something that's like more personal. Like for example, I know a friend wrote about how like I wrote an essay connecting like judo and politics, and like just wrote like a quirky essay about like, or like I know another friend who wrote a quirky essay about like I don't like so like girl bands or something like that, or like Super Junior. Like it really doesn't matter what topic you write it on, just like make sure it's personal and that like it really speaks to who you are. Yeah, and maybe Nathan.
Yeah, I actually don't have much to add to that, but basically what I would say is that your essay should reflect you as a person, not just like your goals, your ideas, like, oh, I want to heal cancer, I want to, I don't know, become the president of Indonesia, or I want to do something great. Like that's really good, but that's in the future, right? What they want to see is you in the present, like who you are right now. So what you want to show in your essay is what you have done, your experiences, your personal experiences, and through these personal experiences, they can actually see like the sides of you that are not reflected in your grades, that are not reflected in your clubs, that are not reflected anywhere else in your application. That's the function of essays. So essays is to show the part of you that can't be reflected in the other parts of the applications. Maybe
Althea, anything you want to
Althea.
add on to that?
Sure. I think what's great about the Harvard application specifically is that the prompts are great, but they also have an option to write about anything. And that's what I chose for my Harvard application. And essentially it was just a huge brain vomit of like who I am and what, and also I think just articulate why you like learning. I think that's the most, it sounds very broad, but that's what I did for my essay. So it doesn't have to be, once again, you don't have to, like, if you feel discouraged that you didn't win an Olympiad or something, it's okay. Look at me. I did not do any of those. So it's okay. You don't have to, be the smartest person in the room. But I think just articulate why you like learning. And it can be through very achievable things and influences. So I talked a bit about the people in my life and how they've led me to become who I am at the time I was applying. Also just, even it could just be books or shows that you're watching, and Harvard does take notice of those things. They just want to see how you think and why you why you're choosing Harvard specifically for your mission or your personality. But that's the great thing about the Harvard applications. You can quite literally write about anything. And I do know a couple people from my high school who are applying to Harvard, and they're thinking that the supplemental essay is optional. But as an international student, it's really not. You want to make sure that you're using every part of your application to the best of your ability. And do keep in mind that there is one essay for international students. It's not exactly an essay, but it's just a short prompt where you have to write about what you want to do with your education at Harvard. And also you don't have to take that entirely seriously. I didn't take that prompt seriously. I think I wrote that I wanted to learn Korean so I could watch K-dramas without subtitles. So just know that you don't have to take any of these essays entirely seriously, but also don't fool around. Just make sure you're really showing off your personality and how you think. Yeah.
So I think a commonality intinya is just like during the application, you want to use that sebagai cara untuk just like show Harvard who you really are. Like as part of the application, you're also submitting your grades, your activities, what other courses did you take during high school, and that's going to just like tell them about the academic side of you, right? Like what you do inside the classroom and like outside the classroom, the extracurricular. But how do they really learn about who you are as a person? Itu lewat essay-nya. So that's why like the essay is very important. Cool. Moving on, let's try to limit it to just like one questions, and let's go for more general questions just so we have time to get to all questions in the queue. So next up, we have Thea.
Izin bertanya ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Is there an age limit to enter? Jadi apakah ada batasan umur minimal atau maksimalnya untuk bisa masuk Harvard, baik itu S1, S2 atau S3? Oh ya, sebelumnya maaf ya saya nggak bisa on cam dari awal sampai akhir acara.
No worries, no worries. Untuk batas umur ya, so untuk S1 kan programnya itu lebih secara specifically targeted untuk yang baru lulus dari high school ya. Tapi even then, there really is no age limit. I know people that started pas mereka kayak umur 25 gitu, karena sebelumnya mereka ada habis lulus high school, mereka ada do some other things dulu baru masuk kuliah. Dan selain itu juga ya untuk S2 dan S3 itu kan ya setelah S1 bisa apply ke S2 atau ke S3 gitu. So really it's just tergantung where you are in your education right now.
Jadi nggak ada batasan umurnya, even misal udah umur 50-an nih masuk Harvard gitu, misalkan itu
I think
bisa.
theoretically harusnya bisa sih.
Yang penting belum ada gelar S1 dari tempat lain. Kayaknya Harvard itu nggak bakal menerima orang yang sudah punya gelar S1 dari tempat lain, tapi kalau misalnya belum punya gelar S1, kelihatannya sih nggak ada batas umur.
Iya.
Saya I probably want applying in this near time gitu, jadi nggak akan perkiraan nggak akan daftar dalam waktu dekat ini banget gitu, mungkin setahun lagi atau 2 tahun lagi, karena saya juga ada pertimbangan, berbagai pertimbangan gitu ya. Saya juga kan harus fokus kuliah sekarang S1, dan juga Inggris saya tuh masih belum terlalu lancar lah ya, bisa dikatakan kayak gitu. Terus saya juga dari univ swasta nih, univ swasta. Kira-kira itu bisa ada kemungkinan nggak ya ya apply ke Harvard itu dari univ swasta?
So dari univ swasta harusnya ya anything is possible, intinya gitu aja sih. I think
dengan jurusan ini. Gimana?
Yep, terbisa kok. Like we've definitely had like people apply to, like I've known people who like personally applied to Harvard kayak untuk kayak S2 dan seterusnya itu, and really they care more about like what you do, you know, just make Harvard itu untuk lihat education secara holistik lah intinya, istilahnya. It's like who you are as a person, what is your journey intinya, and that's like what they're really checking for. So untuk admission yang post S1 kayak untuk S2 dan S3 sih, yeah, we really can't answer that question unfortunately. Tapi we have had and we will be having in the future webinar lain dari HISA untuk berbagai sekolah yang lain di Harvard. So definitely like keep an eye out for those.
Oh ya, oke. Boleh satu
Thank
lagi
you.
saya bertanya?
Ya mungkin rejoin the queue ya. Jadi mungkin tangannya turunin terus join lagi.
Oh, iya.
Ya kita bisa gantian
Oh
aja
ya,
gantian dulu ya.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next, Muhammad Jody.
Oh ya, makasih banyak Kak kesempatannya. So I have few questions. Ini pendek aja sih jawabannya. Yang pertama itu cukup technical di Common App gitu. Waktu kalau pakai kurikulum nasional itu level course-nya itu pakai regular standard atau order Kak milihnya di Common App-nya.
Fian, do you want to take this question?
Wait, sorry, I was looking at the chat. What was the question?
So untuk kayak kalau kurikulum nasional gitu untuk masukin di Common App-nya, do you remember like what label? I think just
Level
for
course.
just yeah course levelnya.
Course levelnya. Itu regular standard atau others pilihnya gitu.
Atau others.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Kalau nggak salah di aplikasi ada kayak level regular, kayak higher and so on. And I think I just put like regular. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah. Thank you Kak. Terus ini Kak, mungkin sempat tahu gitu recommender atau guru kita itu kan ada nama kemudian title. Title itu gelarnya atau beliau itu jadi guru apa gitu? English kah atau science teacher atau gimana gitu?
Oh
Title.
iya, ya jadi gue taruh kayak guru matematik, guru kimia.
Bukan gelar
Iya.
juga ya. Alright. So the next question is, kalau
Muhammad,
suplementasi, ya.
Oh, so just clarification bentar ya, untuk I think untuk yang lebih kayak technical, lebih spesifik itu, if it's just like very specific kayak technicality gitu, mungkin nanti bisa bikin follow up Q&A aja ya, just biar we can get like the other question to chat. Tapi ya,
Sure.
I think you have one more question.
Iya, sebenarnya ini juga masalah penulisan activities section gitu di command app-nya gitu. Describe-nya itu gimana, kan 150 karakter ya.
Got it. I think unfortunately, just like because we have other people like also in line gitu, kita coba let's try to stick to the more general questions dulu ya.
Sure. Thank you, Kak.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Next, Lianta.
Yeah, so first thing, sorry, I'm not turning on my camera. And the second thing is that I have
good.
just got the early decision and I wasn't accepted, but I wasn't rejected either. So I was deferred. And I mean, it's not actually that bad thing because I'm not technically rejected, but at the same time, the accepted student from deferred is actually not that high. So my question is, were anyone of you got deferred as well? And if yes, what did you do like during the meantime from the early action into the regular decision? Thank you.
I can
Cool.
take
So,
that.
yeah, Althea, go ahead.
No, Moses, go ahead.
Oh no, like I applied regular, so I can't answer this.
I can take that. So I applied regular, but I can take that because I applied early to Yale. So Yale was actually my dream school at this time last year. I got deferred. And so I can take that question and give a bit of advice on that. So how I bet you're feeling very overwhelmed right now, and you're definitely
I am.
Yeah, okay. So it's okay. First of all, it's okay. The application's in, so there's really nothing much you can do about it from now until when they give your decision back. But I would say that what I wish someone told me was to, first of all, relax. Everyone will end up where they're meant to be. But second of all, consider schools that are similar to Harvard. So maybe consider Yale, because I applied early to Yale, deferred, and that was kind of a sign for me that I should look at other schools. So that's when I began looking at Harvard, and I applied regular then. So I think don't worry so much about trying to send in, like, I think there was such a thing called a letter of continued interest or something. I didn't do that for Yale because I kind of took it as a sign to look at other options. And getting deferred is not a bad thing at all. There are people who have gotten deferred and have gotten in, but don't put all your energy and your thinking into your Harvard application, because you know that that's done. So from now onwards, just brush it off and just put yourself in the right mindset to keep going and to keep writing essays for other schools. And schools similar to Harvard, I'd say, is Yale, maybe, like liberal arts colleges. And honestly, I know I can't say that Yale like is the equivalent of Harvard now that I'm here, but Yale is a very good school. So you could also look at that if you wanted. But yeah, just don't get discouraged and just keep trying and keep going. Yeah.
Well, actually,
Best of luck.
Cause I have a kind of similar experience with Althea. So like I applied early to MIT and I also got deferred, but like I got in the regular. So I would say you don't need to worry about like being deferred, because that's not an evaluation of your application. It means like, oh, you're bad. I don't think so, because if you see that statistically the acceptance rate for deferred is low, that's like for the overall, but for international students, they only accept not that much international students. So like, it's just possible that they want to see the next batch of applicants from Indonesia, you know, in the regular decision batch. So they don't want to make their decision too quickly. It doesn't mean your application is bad. It doesn't mean like they don't really like you. It's just possible that they really like you, but they just, you know, want to see other options who will come in during the regular decision. So you don't need to worry at all, and you should just focus on your applications in other colleges. I think that's, yeah, I think my advice is pretty similar to Althea.
Cool. Beata, best of luck. You know, we're all rooting for you. Would love to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, so just in the interest of time, I think we'll just have one final question. Thea, do you want to go ahead?
Lanjut pertanyaan tadi ya. Kira-kira tahu nggak untuk ke Harvard Law School itu, misalnya dari S1-nya, saya dari jurusan Hukum Ekonomi Syariah dengan universitas swasta gitu. Kira-kira itu bisa nggak nyambung nggak atau gimana?
Untuk jurusan yang karena udah ada S1-nya, I think that would be lebih ke arah kayak apply buat S2 atau S3 ya. So I think that's really, unfortunately, like I don't think any of us are well equipped to answer that. I think it's best if you check out the other HISA sessions that we run in the past and like the ones we'll be running in the future. Itu semua akan ada infonya di Instagram account Indonesia Harvard. So definitely, have a look at that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. So just before we wrap up, I think it would be nice if, Alfian, Nathanael, Althea, I'm sure the crowd is wondering, what is one thing you wish you knew when like before you got into Harvard, like when you were applying, when you were like even thinking about Harvard as a possibility? Take some time, take your time. But when you're ready, just go ahead. I think in the meantime, I can provide like just my answer to the question. I think for me personally, one thing I would say about Harvard is like anything is possible. So, yeah, mungkin aja it seems a little kayak, oh ada sedikit intimidated ya. Oh, Harvard ini kayak sekolah di Amerika, it's like one of the top schools. It's like, do I really have a shot at Harvard? That'd be what I think that like I would like. I was really worrying about that. I shouldn't have worried too much about it. It's like at the end of the day, everyone has a shot. You just like yang penting, yeah, you work hard on your application and you make sure it is as best as you can do it. Then just toss it in, and who knows? Like one day you might be running this session.
Optimis aja intinya gitu ya.
Yang penting is just make sure that the application, it's going to take time. Make sure you really think deeply about it. Pastiin bahwa okay, this is the best I can present of myself to the admissions committee. Like I think this is true to who I am, and just like at that point, just see where the road takes you.
Yeah, don't forget to take care of yourself.
Yep.
During the application process, because it can get stressful, especially because like I don't know, it takes a lot of time and like there's no certainty during these times. And just don't worry, take care of yourself, sleep well, talk to some friends, play sports.
I would maybe like say something in a similar line. So I would say don't stress out too much. Like when I was applying, like I thought about like all these details, like it has to be perfect, like this application. And then like funny story, after applying, I just realized that like I actually put in a wrong date in my application. So like I graduated May 2022. I put a date May 2021, and I was like, oh my, this is horrible. Like what will happen to me? I mean, I put in lots of effort into this application and I made this like stupid mistake. But I mean, looking back, I think I shouldn't stress out too much about it, because like Harvard don't really try to look at your faults or like, look at some details that are like kind of bad. No, they're just trying to look at you as a person. So don't stress out too much about the details. Like I made the wrong date, but like I still got in, right? I wrote a letter to them saying it's the wrong date, but like basically you don't need to worry too much or stress too much about your application. I would say just enjoy the process and present your best self.
I think for me, I would say this sounds very brutal, but Harvard isn't life, as in it's not, Harvard has its flaws, I would say. And I'm sure that everyone here can speak to that. We definitely don't have, if we don't have the best like dining services. So yeah, that's the brutal honesty. And it's really, I know that Harvard is perceived in the media to be very glamorous, and it is Harvard. It is a really good school, but also just remember that Harvard isn't life, that there are also very, very great schools around Harvard and even just across America and beyond. So what I wish someone told me about Harvard or Yale or any of the schools that apply to is that, you know, this isn't the end of your life if you don't get in, or if you don't get, let's say, the option that you wanted, that there's still very, very great schools and you will be where you are meant to be at the end of the day. And yeah, just to echo what everyone else said about surrounding yourself with the right company during the time so you don't get too psyched out. Yeah.
Cool. With that, thank you very much, semuanya, for attending the HISA College webinar. Before we go, we would love to take a photo with everyone. So if